Hi everyone, welcome back to the Quiz Master app again. And I got so many requests regarding the further enhancement in the Quiz Master app. So I have been creating this bonus video, and we will be covering four most requested features. The first is the logical URL schemas. That was not mostly requested, but I have been doing it because it was required. Then the edit and delete functionality for the questions. So some students are getting issues while adding this functionality. So I'll be including this one also, edit and delete functionality. Then the third is the search functionality for the subject, that chapter, and the quizzes. So that we will do. And the last is update profile functionality in user dashboard. So user can update re their details like the name, degree, or date of birth, whatever. So these are the functionality we will be covering here. So let's first see the logical URL schemas, what we are gonna do here. So right now our URLs are, something different, and we want some logical URLs. So right now if we see the chapters, so our URL is something like admin chapters only. So it is, it is right now listing all of the chapters, not specific to a subject. So at the first, it is hard to, specify like which chapters are related to which subject, and then the list can be also long if we are not specifying based on the subject. So manage the chapters will list will be long. Okay, so at first we will filter using this kind of URL structs. So what will happen like when we add the subject ID? So basically, now we will list the chapters based on this subject ID, and the URL is also looking logical like the subject and subject ID. So the chapters are for this subject ID. So this is more logical. Similar to the add chapter, we don't have to choose the subject from the drop down list. When we add the chapter, we can give the subject ID directly in the URL. So while saving the chapter, it will be automatically calculated like for which subject ID this chapter has been added. So this is more logical to instead of giving up the whole subject list in the drop down and give user like admin need to uh, pick the list, pick one chapter from or one subject from a long list. So this is more reasonable. Similar to the edit chapter, so edit chapter, we are giving the subject ID. So once we are done with editing, we can revert or redirect back users to the manage chapters based on the subject ID. Similarly, for the quizzes, we will be having the same kind of URL structure, and uh, for the questions too. So for the questions, actually, we already have this functionality. Like based on the quiz, we show users the questions. Uh, but I have been I need to just update the URLs because the right now the URL is like admin manage quiz questions and then slash and then ID, but we cannot distinguish between like which ID we are talking about. So if we specify like this is the quiz ID or we name it as quiz ID, so it is more logical like the questions are based on the quiz ID, this quiz ID. And also we'll update the function, the quiz function from the manage quiz questions to manage questions only, like all are right now like the manage quizzes, manage chapters, manage subjects also. So similarly, we will change this to manage quiz questions to manage questions. So let's start with the logical URL schema first, and first we will do for the subject. So we have to open the admin controller cause all are the admin related routes inside the admin controller, and we have to find out where are we have listed the subjects. So here are the subjects, and just add a comment also, subjects root, subject roots. Okay, similarly uh, add the comment for the chapter. So chapter we have started here. So oh shit. Chapter roots, and for the quizzes, chapter quiz quiz roots, and then the question. I think manage user section will be at last because it's not related to the same sections. So all the entities are similar as if we talk about the functionality. So users is a different one. So that will be at last. And this one for the question roots. By using the comments, it is really easy to find like where are all the roots. Okay. So for the subjects, if we see, we don't need to specify any parent ID because subject is the initial start. After the subject, then we have the chapter, and chapters have the subject ID. So that's why it is needed to make the logical URLs for these one, the chapter, quiz, and questions. So right now, manage subjects is a page looking like this. Like we are just listing all the subjects here. We have the two buttons, edit and delete, and we have the add subject functionality. Then we have the chapters where we are listing all the chapters, and chapters have the edit and delete button too. And we are listing all of the chapters. These are not filtered specific to the subject. And similarly, we are have the quizzes, but quiz have the button manage quiz questions, and the questions are specific to the quizzes only. Same functionality we have to do with the subject and with the chapters. So this button will go here to like manage chapters, and then we don't need to list all of the chapters. We will then when we click on the manage chapters button, so the chapters listed will be specific to the subject only. Okay, and when we have those subjects, so when we add the subject or add the chapter, so right now, if we add the chapters, we have to select the subject and then we can submit. But when we have the subject ID in the URL, like this one for the add chapter, we have the subject ID. Then we can fetch the subject ID directly from the URL, and we don't need to select the subject here. Similarly, for the edit also, and yeah, and same process we have to also follow for the quizzes. So for the quizzes, we don't need to then select the chapter will be we can fetch from the URL itself, and we don't need to select the chapter here too. So we'll remove these selection inputs, and we will fetch the data for the selection from the URL. Okay, so let's start with the manage chapters root first, because first we have to modify the root based on the new URL schema. So what is the new URL schema for the chapters? To listing the chapters, this is the new URL schema based on the subject. So copy the schema like I have been copying. You can just write by yourself, or you can also check out the code in the GitHub repository, and you can copy and paste. Okay, so this one we have to use. So now the chapters will be based on the subject ID. Okay. So subject ID, we have to also wrap it inside the angle bracket, and then we have to define like what is the type. So integer is the type, and the same subject ID we have to provide in this function, and then we need to find first the subject. So subject will be subject dot query dot get or 404, and by the subject ID. So first we will find the subject, and if subject is available, then chapters will be, there are already association between the subject and chapter, so you can access the chapters directly to the subjects. So subject dot chapters, and you can get the chapters based on the subject. Uh, else in else case, we can give the blank array, and then we can also uh, send this subject as param. Let me break into multiple lines and save it. Okay, so we are done with the manage chapters route. Now we have to change this route everywhere where we have used, because now we have having the subject ID, so we need to provide the subject ID where we have used the manage chapters. So find all the manage chapters URLs, URL for, and now we need to provide the subject ID. So first one is the manage chapters itself, because we are using this template. Okay, the template name is same, so it's not the URL. URL is this. So first URL we have used in the edit add chapter. So right now we haven't implemented the subject ID in the add chapter or the edit chapter or the delete. So what we have to do, we can just add the a placeholder subject ID for now. We will change it later, like first, okay, the hard coded one. For removing the error, because if we don't provide the subject ID now, so it will give the error. Okay, save it. Then the next one is edit chapters. Same do here. Provide a placeholder subject ID for now. Save it, and then in the delete chapter, it is also redirecting user to the manage chapters after the deleting. So we have to also provide the placeholder for subject ID here. Okay, save these, and then in the layout, we have a navigation link for the manage chapters. So here we can remove this navigation, because we are not needed now. The manage subjects will have the button for managing chapters based on the subject, so we don't need this navigation link, so we can remove it from here. Save it and go to the page manage subjects, and now we have to change the manage subjects template to give a button here, manage chapters. So open the manage subjects template, and the button will be similar to the manage quizzes, that the manage quiz have the button for manage quiz questions. So copy this button from the manage quiz template, from the actions button, copy this one, go to the manage subjects, add this button inside the action buttons td, and change the label manage chapters, and the URL will be now uh, the first one that we have just modified, that is the manage chapters. So manage chapters, and we have to specify the subject ID, so for which subject we need to manage the chapters. So subject ID we need to provide now, subject ID, and subject ID is simply the subject dot ID, as we are uh, inside the manage subjects. So subjects we are looping, and we have the subject. Okay, so that subject ID will go here. So now we will manage the chapters based on the subject ID. Save this template, go to the page again, reload it, and now manage subjects. Each subject have the manage chapters button, and when you go to the button now, so earlier for the manage chapters navigation, when we have seen that there were all of the chapters listed, and now when we click on this button, so it will list the chapters based on the subject itself. Okay, So these are the subjects for the mathematics, and these are for the science, and these are for the history. So we also needed like a label change here, like manage chapters for subject name. Okay, so for that, this is the chapters manage chapters um, template, and this is the new URL now. So the URL is chapters for subject 1, and for subject 2 these are the chapters, and for subject 3 similarly. Okay, so go to the manage chapters now for anyone, and just change the label first. So open the manage chapters template, and now we are getting the uh, we are we are giving the subject in the manage chapters template, so we can access the subject inside the manage chapters template. So open it, and the label or the title will be changed like manage chapters for uh, subject dot name. Okay, and that's it. You can also change the title if you want, uh, for subject dot name. Okay, save it, reload this page again, and now we have clear indication like for which subject we are managing the chapter. So this is for the mathematics. If we click here, so this is for the science, and this is for the history. It is more clear now. Okay, so we are done with the manage chapters. We will work on the add chapter now. Okay, so if we go to the add chapter now, we have this subject selection that we have to remove, and also we have to replace the URL where we have to provide the subject ID, so we don't need this one. Okay, go back, uh, change the URL first for the add chapter, copy it, go to the admin controller again, and work on the add chapter. So add chapter we have to modify the URL first, and in the URL we are using the same slug add subject and then subject ID, and for which subject ID we are going to change the we are going to add the chapter. So needed the subject ID, wrap it inside the angle bracket, this one, and put the type int subject ID. Then you need to pass in the function the subject ID we have passed. And now what changes we have to do? First, we are providing the selection or the list of the subjects for admin to select, so we don't need all the choices here. Remove it. Subject ID now we can directly put here instead of getting from the form. Okay, and then when we have the subject ID, we can pass the same subject ID here where we have added the placeholder. So subject ID will be the subject ID. Okay, great. Um, so that is fine. And now we have to work on the add chapter template where we have to remove the selection. So add chapter template, and the add chapter template first, we have to modify the label also, page title. So add chapter for which subject? So if we are providing the subject, so we need to provide the subject also here in the add chapter template, because first we have to update the title. So for which subject we are adding the chapter, it is not clear. So we will first add the subject name here, and for adding the subject name we have to also provide the subject in the template, right? So we are getting the subject ID only, so just find the subject first, subject equal to, or just copy this one, subject dot query dot get or 404 subject ID, and paste it here. So we are getting the subject now. Just provide this subject in the params, and we have been breaking this one also in multiple lines, right? So we are providing the subject now, and we can access the subject inside the add chapter. Okay, so go here, and similarly what we have done for the managed chapters, subject dot name, and you can also add in the title to add chapter for, and add chapter for subject dot name. So that will be changed, and then we have to remove the selection, subject selection. So remove it from here completely. We don't need this selection because we are providing subject ID from the URL. Save it, and we have also done with the template part. Now we need to change this add chapter route everywhere where we have given. So find the add chapter, and we now need to provide the subject ID to as. Find it, and where we are using, so URL for in the manage chapters. In the manage chapters, we are using the add chapter button. So now we need to also provide the subject ID. We are getting the subject here, so we can provide the subject ID. So subject ID will be subject dot ID. Save it, and now we are inside the manage chapters for history section, and when we add the or when we click the add chapter, so the URL will be like this: admin subject subject ID, and then add chapter, and the selection is removed. Now when we add the history, like whatever, India history, the chapter, the description is past era something, and submit it. So we don't need to add the subject ID, and choices cannot be done. Okay, we need to change the form too. Okay, so open the forms.py, and inside the chapter form we have given this select field, so we need to remove this one from here now, and we have only this name and description field. Save it, reload the page again and confirm, and now chapter edit successfully. And now after adding the chapters successfully for India history, it has redirected to manage chapters template for history subject, right? So if we go back to the manage subjects, and if we try to add the manage chapter for the mathematics and add, so add something like statistics, um, all about statistics, submit it, and it will be redirected to mathematics. Okay, so the chapters for the mathematics, it will redirect you to. There is no errors like you are adding the chapters for the history and it is redirecting to different. No, because you have given the subject ID here, so it will be redirected to the exact subject. Okay, where you were. That is fine. Now we'll work on the edit. Edit is similar to the add, so there will not be more changes. So just go to the edit uh, chapter function first, okay, and then change the root. So for the edit chapter, the root is admin slash subject slash subject ID, and then edit chapter, and then the chapter ID. Change this one, slash admin slash subject ID, and wrap the subject ID inside the angle bracket. And this is the integer type. Similarly, we have to wrap it here, the chapter ID. This is also the integer type, and now we have to provide two things in the edit chapter. First is the subject ID, the second is the chapter ID. Okay, and using the subject we will also find the subject. So let's copy this bit, subject equal to subject query, paste it here, and then um, we don't need to provide the subject selection, right? And the chapter will be using the chapter ID, not the ID. Then the subject ID will be from the URL, not the selection. So right now you cannot update the subject if you have selected one for the chapter. For adding, if you have to modify that chapter for different subjects, so you have to delete, and then you can create a new chapter from a different subject, right? So after giving the subject ID in the chapter.subject ID, and now the manage chapters, when it will redacted the admin to manage chapters. So now we have to give in the subject ID provided by the URL. Okay, so this placeholder will be dynamic now, and we also need to give the subject as we have given to the add chapters in the param, because we are needed to modify the title. So save it, and then go to the edit chapter template now. First chapter, and we need to update the label first. So we have provided the subject in the param, so we can use the subject name. Okay, subject dot name, and edit chapter for edit chapter for, and then we need to remove the selection completely. Save it, the template work is done. Next we need to provide the subject ID and chapter ID everywhere where we have used this URL. So find the edit chapter. So we have used this edit chapter URL only in the manage chapter section. So open the manage chapters template, and we have to provide two, the subject ID and the chapter ID. So the subject ID will be uh, the subject.id, and the chapter ID will be chapter.id. There is no issue because we have already provided the params whatever needed. So now edit chapter have two params, the subject ID and the chapter ID. Save it and reload the manage chapters for math. And if we now when we edit this one, so edit, the URL will be having the subject ID and the chapter ID. Okay, and we don't have a chapter selection now. Edit chapter for mathematics. Okay, so and machine learning, submit it, and chapter updated successfully. So this thing is working. Next we have to implement the URL thing for the delete. So for the delete, we are providing the chapter ID, but we are also needing the subject ID, because if we check the delete chapter root, so we are redacting to the manage chapters, but now the manage chapters is based on the subject ID. So we also need to provide the subject ID too. So I'll be updating these routes too. Give me a minute. Okay, so I made the changes. So the delete chapter, we also have the subject ID. So based on the subject ID, we can redact it redact back to the manage chapter section for specific to the subject. Okay, so the URL will be now the admin/admin/subject/subject ID, delete chapter, and then the chapter ID. So in the delete chapter, replace the URL and then wrap it the subject ID with the end type uh, angle bracket, and for the chapter ID to sorry chapter ID, that is also the int type. Okay, so now the URL is /admin/subject ID, delete chapter and chapter ID. So we don't need to find the subject because we have to just click on the button and it will delete the chapter based on the chapter ID, and then we will redact it to the manage chapters based on the subject ID. So first we have to uh, replaces the ID with the chapter ID, so it is now more specific, like for which entity we are talking about. So we are talking about the chapter ID, not the subject ID. So chapter ID we have given in the function delete chapter ID, and then we are finding the chapter based on the chapter ID. Now copy the subject ID and provide here and replace the placeholder with the dynamic value of the subject ID. Okay, we have to provide the subject ID here. So the delete subject ID and the chapter ID we have to provide for the delete chapter URL. Okay, save this, and then wherever we have used the delete chapter, we have to provide these two, subject ID and the chapter ID. So find the delete chapter URL. So mostly we have used the add, delete and edit functionality inside the manage chapters itself. So open the manage chapters template, and delete chapter we have used here, and now we have to provide the subject ID and chapter ID similar to the add chapter. So we can also copy these thing from the add chapter to the delete chapter form. Okay, save it, and we are done. Reload it, and if we delete now, so it will be redirected to the same manage chapter section for the mathematics. So delete it, the last one. Okay, and we are again on the same page like manage chapters for the specific subject. Okay, so we are done with the URL schema change for the subject. Now the chapters are specific to the subject. Same thing we have to do for the quizzes. So now the quizzes will be specific to the chapters, and then we will see how we can implement the same thing for the questions too. So let's go to the quizzes part. Okay, so chapters we are done with, and now how we can access the chapters. Go to the manage subjects, and from the manage subjects we can go to the manage chapters. And when we insert the manage chapters, so here we have to add the button for managing the quizzes based on this chapter, right? So in that way, if we see now, we have all the managed quizzes listed here, like 10 quizzes, and we cannot check like for which chapter the which quiz is for which chapter. We cannot tell, right? But when we specify the quizzes based on the chapter, so then users can, or the admin can view the quizzes based on the chapter here, right? So then we can access the algebra specific quizzes only, the geometry specific quizzes only, right? So that will be the great approach. So admin can access the quizzes based on the chapters, right? Right now it is really difficult. Cool. So go to the admin controller and find the close these all because we are done with the chapters. Okay, and open the root for the quiz. So quiz roots are here, and first is the manage quizzes. So Manage quizzes, we have to specify or we have to filter for the chapters now. And what is the URL for this one? For the quizzes, we have the URL like /admin/chapter and /chapter ID. And for this chapter ID, we will filter the quizzes or we will manage the quizzes. Okay. So we need to replace the manage quizzes root first. Okay. And uh, wrap it inside the angle bracket, specify the type int and provide the chapter ID here in the function, and then we need to find the chapter first. Chapter equal to chapter dot query dot get or 404 chapter ID, and if chapter is available, obviously it will be available because if we are clicking on the chapters, so there will be chapter. But if we are manually putting the chapter ID on URL, so if we are we have the chapters like 5 chapters in the database and we are putting the URL in the URL, like we are putting um, sorry, you have to check the URL. If you are putting like 6, the chapter ID 6, so obviously we will not able to find the chapter, and then it could be error. It could be an error. That error we can resolve using the if conditions. If there is a chapter, we will list all the chapters. So chapter dot quizzes, as we have the association, and if there is no chapter, so you can just respond with the blank array, and also uh, provide this chapter param in the manage chapters manage quizzes template. Okay, so we are done with the root. Now we have to replace the this URL by providing the chapter ID everywhere where we have used. So mostly I think we have used the manage quizzes in the layout only. Just find it, manage quizzes, and find for the URL for only. And for these, we have to supply the placeholder as we have given to the chapter, so it will not give the error for doing the changes. Okay, so for now add quiz have the manage quizzes, or it is redirecting to manage quizzes, but we needed the chapter ID. So just for now just give the hardcode value or the placeholder value. Similarly for the edit quiz, give a placeholder value for chapter ID, so you can prevent the error. And then for the delete also give the chap uh, chapter ID, right? Okay, save it. And in the layout we don't need the manage quiz section now because we are managing the sections, manage the quizzes inside from the chapters. Okay, so remove this one too, save it, reload our page for the manage chapters. Yeah, we need a button now for the managing chapters. So similarly, open the manage quizzes template first, and open the manage subjects template as we have added the manage chapters button. So copy this button from the TD actions, uh, the TD action buttons. Copy this one, go to the manage quizzes template, and oh sorry, the manage chapters, because we have to manage the quizzes from the manage chapters, right? So inside the manage chapters, copied the button from the manage subjects, go to the manage chapters template, and add at the last for the managing quizzes. Okay, and the URL for the managing quiz is um, the first one, manage quizzes So the manage quizzes, now we need to provide the chapter ID here, and the chapter ID we have, as we are managing the chapter, so we obviously we have the chapter as we are looping through the chapter. So chapter.id, save it, and now for each of the chapters we have the manage quizzes button, and when we click on the button, so the URL will be like admin slash chapter slash id and the quizzes. And now we can also update our manage quizzes template to have the chapter name. So we are providing the chapter name already in the manage quizzes right here. So open the manage quizzes template and access the chapter name, manage quizzes for chapter dot name, manage quizzes for chapter dot name for the meta title, chapter dot name. Okay, save it, reload. So we are managing the quizzes for algebra. Go back, open this one, and we are managing the quizzes for geometry. And go another subject like the science, open the chapters for the science, open the quizzes for the science, managing quizzes for the physics. If you click on here, so managing quizzes for the chemistry, all fine. Okay, so we are done with the manage quizzes, and next we have to work on the add quiz. So right now add quiz have the chapter selection, but we don't need that as we will get the chapter ID from the URL. So let's go to the add quiz root now, and first update the root. So for the add quiz, we have the root like add slash admin slash chapter, chapter ID and add quiz. So basically we are giving the chapter ID, so we can have the chapter ID without giving the selection, right? So copy this one. Uh, like you don't need to copy, basically you have to just write it, or you can copy basically from the GitHub repository, as we as I have listed the GitHub repository in each of the description, each of the video description, so you can access the GitHub repository and copy whatever you want to copy. So admin slash chapter ID, wrap this inside the angle bracket, specify the type of the ID, integer, and then provide this chapter ID inside the function. And then we need to update the quiz form as last time. So open the forms, and for the quiz form we don't need this chapter ID selection, remove it from here, save this, go to the add quiz again. In the root part, remove the choices from here, we don't need that. And then in the chapter ID we directly we can put the chapter ID from the URL, right? And then um, find the chapter, so we can update the title too, right? So chapter dot query dot get 404 chapter ID. You can also add the if condition, like if chapter found, then you can add just for if you want to manage the error, like if you are manipulating it from URL directly. Otherwise, there is no need, because you are going through the subject, then chapter, then quizzes. Obviously, you will have the chapter. That's why you are clicking here, start chapter ID. And then when you find the chapters, so we have to give in the params for the add quiz template. So chapter is tab chapter, and also we can now dynamic this value. for which we have used the placeholder, so chapter.id, and we are done with the add kuch root. And now we have to provide the chapter ID wherever we have used this URL. So find, mostly you will find this on the manage quiz layout, right? URL for. So add and edit root basically on the same entity in the manage section, like this one. So what we have to provide now, the chapter ID. The chapter ID will be chapter.id, and uh, that's it. Um, yeah, that's it. And now if we go back and reload it and click on the add switch again, okay, we are getting error, has no attribute chapter ID. Why? Okay, why it is giving error? Cause uh, we have removed the chapter ID from here, and that same form we are using for the edit quiz, but we haven't changed anything for the edit quiz. So edit quiz is using the same form, the quiz form, and this has the selection for now because we are working on the add quiz. So do one thing for now, just revert back the form, and now it will work. So now the add quiz URL will have the /admin /chapter, chapter ID, and add quiz, and the chapter selection. So chapter selection we have removed choices from, we have removed from the root, but we have to remove from the template. So now open the add quiz template and remove this one, and also add the title, update the title for the add quiz for chapter name. So open the add quiz template and change the label title first, add quiz for chapter.name. We are already providing the chapter in the params. And same, copy and paste for the meta title, and then remove the chapter ID selection completely. Save it, reload again, and now we got the add quiz for chemistry. So it is more clear now, like for which chapter we are adding the quiz. So add quiz for chemistry, and name, date of quiz, and time duration, and we are good. So now just add anything, add quiz like chemistry. So I don't know anything about chemistry. Okay, whatever theorem. Okay, uh, gas particles, something. Okay, then the date of quiz, whatever, 27 or 28. Then I'll post this March 2025. The time, I don't know. That will be for the time duration. This is in seconds. So for 600, so that will be um, in seconds. So that will be 10 minutes. Okay, submit it, and type error choices cannot be none. Okay, so the same problem is happening because we don't need this one, but we need this one for the edit. So right now we can do that because we are not using the edit here, like for the managing. Reload it. Okay, so quiz added successfully. and you can just comment it this one when you submit for now. But from now what we will do for edit and delete, for edit and add, for both things we have to work similarly or the same time, so we cannot get the error. Okay, so our add quiz functionality has been worked. Now remove this bit completely and go to the admin controller, and then the edit quiz. So for the edit quiz, the URL is admin/chapter/chapter ID and edit quiz and the quiz ID. So need to replace here in the edit quiz, and then wrap it inside the angle bracket, specify the type, then here to quiz ID, and we have to provide both ID inside the function edit quiz, chapter ID and then quiz ID. Cool. Um, Now we need to find the chapter cause we need to update the label. So chapter, chapter, or just copy it from the add section. Chapter.query.get 404, paste it, chapter ID. Quiz ID we have to replace with the ID, and then we need to remove the choices from the edit to, and the chapter ID we have to provide from the URL. Then we can now make it dynamic, the manage quizzes, right? And then we can give this chapter to the add quiz template. Okay, that's it. We have updated the URL. We have provided two parameters inside the edit quiz, and then we have been finding the chapter. That chapter we are providing here in the edit quiz template. The chapter ID we have made it dynamic for the managed quizzes, and chapter ID also provided directly to the form, not from the selection. Okay, save it, go to the edit quiz template, change the title, give the specific name, so chapter dot name. Similarly here for the meta title, chapter dot name, and then remove the chapter ID selection completely, save it, right, and we are done. Reload the page. Okay, we are getting cause we have changed the root, but we also need to provide these two values wherever we have used the edit quiz. So find, uh, we have used the edit quiz inside the manage quizzes, and then need to give the chapter ID and the quiz ID. So chapter ID, as we already providing the chapter in the manage quizzes, so chapter ID will be the chapter dot ID, and the quiz ID we already looping through, so quiz dot ID. Save it and reload again, and now the manage quizzes for chemistry. So now when we click on the edit, so the URL will be similar, something like this: the admin/chapter/chapter ID slash edit quiz and then the quiz ID. Okay, and edit quiz for chemistry. We have already updated the title and we have removed the chapter selection. Okay, now if we want to change some, like we are changing the name, we will talk about the liquid items, or liquid battery. Yeah, that's a good topic. Submit it. So page updated successfully. It is working fine. And next we have to test the delete functionality. So for the delete, we have to give the chapter ID only because when we delete, we have to redirect it back to this page, and this that is needed the chapter ID, right? So that's why we have to give the chapter ID to delete quiz, and we will also replace the ID with the quiz ID to more, have more clarity like which ID it is for. So we are going to replace the delete quiz root. So for the delete quiz, just replace it with the admin/admin/chapter/chapter ID. Chapter ID inside the angle bracket with the integer defined type, and slash delete quiz ID, that will be also inside the angle bracket with the integer type, right? And then we need to provide these parameters here in the delete chapter ID and the quiz ID, okay? And then uh, quiz ID will be replaced with the ID, and the chapter ID we have to place it here to make it dynamic, not the hard-coded value. And that's it. Save this, and we also need to provide the chapter ID and quiz ID wherever we have used the delete quiz. So mainly it will be on the manage quizzes section, but find again, and if you find another references, mainly it is the manage quizzes. So in the manage quizzes, the delete quiz needed the chapter ID and the quiz ID. So just copy this one also from the edit quiz, chapter ID and quiz ID. You can copy and replace it here. Save it, reload the page, and when you click on the delete quiz now, so it will redirect back to the manage quizzes for chemistry section. So click on the delete. Okay. Now we have two quizzes for the chemistry, and we are redirected back to the manage quizzes for chemistry quiz. Okay. Cool. The next is quiz specific questions. We already have the quiz specific question as we have created earlier. So we have the managed quiz questions, but we are going to change some of the bits to match with the other layouts. So other layouts we have like the managed chapters. Managed chapters have the managed quizzes. So managed quizzes will also, when we having the questions, it will be similar to those like managed questions only, not the managed quiz questions. So that's we are gonna do. We will change only this bit, and then for the add, edit, and delete. So add functionality is there for the question, but we have not uh, implemented the edit and delete. So we will also add those functionality as it was in the further enhancement sections. For the questions, we have to make this functionality edit and delete, so it will be new, and that is good actually because we will create fresh, so we don't need to modify. But for the add, we need to change the URL. Okay, so go back to the manage quiz question. We already have the button, so we don't need that. So go to the manage quizzes template and change the button label to manage questions, and that's it. That's it. That changes we want. We can also rename the template. Okay, but that is not needed. But if you want to, you can. So let's go to the manage questions now. So this is the manage quiz questions, and we have to go to the manage quizzes template, because manage quizzes template have the manage quiz questions button. So we have to make it manage questions only. This is inside the manage quizzes, okay? Because the manage quiz questions button is in the manage quizzes template, okay? So in the manage quizzes template, we have renamed the manage quiz questions to manage questions, and uh, we will also update the URL too, okay? Because already we have to update it, so we will also update the structure of the URL. So it will be manage questions only, not the manage quiz questions, because we are already adding the quiz with the URL. Okay, cool. So uh, go to the admin controller now, and first reload the page because we have changed here. Reload. So it is now the manage questions, and now we have to work on the manage questions URL. So manage questions is manage quiz questions, but we will make it as manage questions. So for the manage questions, we have this URL /admin /quiz ID and questions. So basically, we are filtering the questions based on the quiz ID. So we have to replace the root. See. So now the root will be /admin /quiz ID and questions, and the quiz ID will be in the angle bracket and with the type defined integer. And then we will also update the function manage questions only, but um, we need to find it also. Okay, so just copy this thing and add above so we can find after changing, and it will be now the manage questions. Quiz ID we are already giving, so we don't need to have more changes. That's it for the manage quiz questions, and just break it in multiple lines. That's it. Okay, save this file. Okay, so after changing the function name, we will also change the template name. Okay, so manage quiz questions template. First find inside the question there is a manage quiz question template, and we are going to rename it uh, to manage questions only, and then we will use here the manage questions. So we have changed the function name and the template name both. Okay, and we are good with that. Next, wherever we have used the manage quiz questions, we have to change the manage quiz questions to the manage questions. So find all the places where we have used the manage quiz questions and copy this one, manage questions. So manage quiz questions we have used um, uh, here in the add questions. So that need to change to the manage questions. This is inside the add question. Okay, and we have replaced with the manage quiz questions with the manage questions. And next we have used in the manage quizzes. So manage quizzes, we have to change the function name to the manage questions. Save it. We are completely done with the manage questions root. Now we can remove the comment. Reload the page. And now when we click on the manage questions from the quiz, like this one. So the URL for the managed questions is admin/quiz/id, quiz ID, and the questions. And managed questions for algebra basic, it was already being implemented, so we haven't done anything yet for the managed questions template. Okay, so we are done with the managed questions too. We have changed the function name uh, from managed quiz questions to managed questions. We also changed the template name from managed quiz questions to managed questions. And then we have replaced all the occurrences that we found for the managed quiz questions. Okay. Next, we will work on the add quiz question. Okay. So right now, when we click on the add quiz question, so first it will be add quiz question. So we will change the label only. Okay. So go to the manage questions template and replace or change the label. Okay. Go to the manage questions now and add question, and the label will be add question only. Save it. Okay. The label will be add question. And if we click on the add question now, so the URL is /admin/add question and then the ID. Basically, this ID is for quiz, but the URL is not logical. That must be this one, quiz and the quiz ID, and then the add question. What we have right now, it looks like we have the ID for the question. Okay, so we have to specify using this quiz/id, so then it will be more clear, like the quiz and the quiz ID, and for this quiz ID we are adding the question. Okay, all right, so we have to replace the add question URL or the root, so replace it with this one, /admin/quiz/quiz ID in the angle bracket with the integer type, and add question. Then quiz ID we are already providing that question, and I think all is good except for the add question. Right now we are showing the ID add question for one, not the name. So just change it to name. For changing it to name, we have to also find first the quiz, and then we have to provide the quiz to the template, not the quiz ID. So quiz dot query dot get or 404, put the quiz ID, and now we will provide the quiz ID to template. Currently we are providing the quiz ID, but we have to provide the quiz basically, so we can access the quiz dot name. Okay, so we are finding the quiz and then we are providing to the template. Okay, next go to the add question template and instead of quiz ID we will now uh, list the quiz dot name, and for the meta title too we will do the same, quiz dot name. So reload it, save it first, and reload the page again. Okay, actually we have changed the URL, so go back, reload this one, and now when we click on the add question, so it will have this URL, the admin quiz ID, and add question, and the name of the quiz. Now we are getting, so add question for the algebra basic, instead of the ID one we are getting the name, add question for algebra basics. That is really good. Other functionality are same because we haven't touched, it was already working because um, from start we have added the question based on the quiz, so we haven't need to touch other part, right? Go back. Okay, so we are done with the add question. Now we have these buttons, edit and delete for the question, but we haven't done the implementation. So we will do it from start for the edit and delete. So edit functionality basically similar to the add question. So we have to just copy paste the add question thing, and we will be done with the edit. There are just some of the changes we have to do. So let's start with the edit, and for the edit we have to use this URL /admin /quiz ID edit question and question ID. So we have to create first a new controller for the edit quiz. So admin bp.root we have to add admin blueprint.root, and the root will be this one, and the method will be get and post. Okay, so the URL will be the root /admin/quiz, then integer defined quiz ID, and then /edit question ID, and that also will be wrapped inside the angle bracket. So this is the final URL for the edit question, and then we will make a function for this, and that also required admin login required decorator, and then we will write the function edit question, and the edit question will have now a quiz ID and the question ID. And for edit quiz, just copy paste some of the edit quiz example, like for from the edit quiz, we can copy paste this thing, and similar we will do for the edit question. Okay, but for the edit question we need to find the quiz first. So remove this one, quiz is quiz.query get or 404 quiz ID, that is fine. Then we have to find the question. So question will be question dot query dot get or 404, and that will be question ID, and then the form will be this one, the question form, and object will be the question, and for form dot validate on submit. So what we have to do, just use these values from the question, copy paste from the add question, right? Replace here, instead of quiz we will have the question fields. Okay, and then these will be for uh, question dot question statement, question dot option 1, question dot option 2, question dot option 3, question dot option 4, question dot correct option. Okay, and question dot quiz ID. Okay, that's it. And then instead of this URL we have to redact it to manage questions. So copy this one for the manage questions, replace with the quiz one, and we are good. So after editing the question, it will be redirected admin to manage questions for the specific quiz ID, right? And then we need to create a template that will be this one, admin So basically copy this one, this whole thing from the add question, paste it here, 2 times return, make it one. So the template will be something like admin question, and the template name will be edit question instead of add question. And we are providing the form and the quiz. Okay, great. Save this one, and then we need to create the template for the edit questions. Edit question template will be same as the add question, so you have to just copy paste the template for the add question. So this is the add question template. Just copy and make it duplicate and just rename it to edit question. Okay, then what we have to change, this title will be edit question for, this title page title will be edit question for, and edit question for whatever quiz name, and then all the things will be same. That's it. Save it, and then we need to uh, use this URL in the manage questions section. So we have this edit button. Now we have to add the URL here. So the URL for will be edit question, and we need two parameters for the edit question, so need to provide here. So the quiz ID will be quiz.id. We already providing quiz, so the quiz ID will be quiz.id, and the question ID will be, we already getting the question, so question ID will be question.id. Okay, we have the edit button now working. So URL we have updated from blank to URL for edit question. Quiz ID we have provided, question ID we have provided, and this is for the edit button. Save it, go to the page, manage quiz questions, reload it. Okay, did you mean admin.edit question? Yeah, admin.edit question, cause the edit question function is in the admin blueprint. Okay, so admin.edit question, reload it, and now when we edit this, like if you edit this one, 2 plus 2, so you can update the question statement, right? Or you can have more question. So I'm not going to change the statement, but we will add more options like 2, 7, and 6, and make it 4. So what is 2 plus 2? That will be 4, but the correct option will be now 4. Save it. Okay, we got the error. The error is, okay, we got the tuple error. Tuple is not supported. So what we have to do? Uh, okay, so we have to remove the comma too. Comma, make it a space. Remove all the comma. Okay, this was the error. Okay, save it, and now reload again, submit, and quiz updated successfully. So the edit functionality is working. What we have done, just copied the add question template to the edit question, and then we have made a new route for that edit question, and we are good. Next, we have to work on the delete part. So for delete part, we have to just, make a form similar to other, like this one, the manage chapters, or like this one. So similarly, we have to make the functionality for this delete, and then we will be done. For delete, the URL will be /admin/quiz ID, and then delete question and then question ID. So after deleting the question, it will return back to the manage questions for this specific quiz. Okay. So we need to create another route for deleting. So admin dot underscore blueprint bp dot root, and the new route that will be for deleting we are using uh, um yeah, we are not using anything. It will be a get request. And one more thing, for the edit question, the flash message will be question updated successfully, not the quiz updated successfully. Okay, so keep consider this also. Question updated successfully. I just copied the data from the quiz, that's why it just occurred. So fix that one also. And then work on the delete part. So /admin/quiz/quiz ID, that will be in angle bracket with the type defined integer, and then the delete question, and then this will be also angle defined, angle wrapped, and integer defined type, and then this will be a get request that will be required admin login, and then the function will be admin or delete question. So def delete question, and we have to provide both the ID here, quiz ID and the question ID, and then uh, copy paste some of the delete functionality, like uh, 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 copy this one for the quiz, delete quiz. We are copying. So basically, delete functionality and edit functionality we are copied, and it was working fine. So what we have to do first, we have to change some of the bits, like we are working for the delete question, so we have to find the question, and for finding the question, question dot query dot get or 404 question ID, and then db dot session dot delete question, and then question deleted successfully, category success, and URL for the URL will be this one, redirect URL, admin manage questions, and the quiz ID. So redirect here for the manage questions. So after deleting the questions, the admin will again go to the manage questions for the specific quiz. So quiz ID that we have provided will be listed here. Okay, similar to the edit quiz question. And then we are done. We don't need any template for delete questions. We just have to use this URL wherever we are using the delete question, that is on the manage questions template. So go to the manage questions template, and we have to create a form. So just copy the form from somewhere like manage quizzes, copy this whole form thing from the manage quizzes inside the action buttons, and go back again to the manage questions and replace this delete button with the form. Okay, and the form we have to do some of the changes, like the URL will be the delete question. So instead of delete quiz, we will have the delete question, and we have to provide the quiz ID and the question ID. So we needed uh, for the delete question, we needed the quiz ID and question ID. So we are providing the same quiz ID and question ID in the edit button. So just copy this one, quiz ID and question ID, from the edit button and replace here. So now uh, we have created a form, and the action is this URL, the admin.delete question, and we have provided then the quiz ID and the question ID that is required in the root, and then the method is post, and when we click on the button, so we will have the pop-up as, are you sure you want to delete this uh, question? Okay, and then confirming this will delete the question. Save it. Okay, look at this now. Form action URL for admin delete question, quiz ID, quiz.id, question.id. Just copy paste basically the form from other delete functionality, and that I have pasted here. Okay, and then a method post, uh, and inside the form we have the button class is btn danger btn sm, and on click we are returning the pop-up confirm, to confirm, that is the, are you sure you want to delete this question? Delete button is closed, form is closed, and we are good. Save it, reload the manage quiz questions, and now when we click on the delete buttons, so it will give the pop-up, are you sure you want to delete this question? And when we click on the OK, it will, okay, the method not allowed, the method is not allowed for the, okay. So actually we have added the form post, and we have to give the method post here because this is the get type of method. So you have to specify the accessible methods only. So we need for post. Okay, so just add the methods post, save it, and reload the page, and continue the form submission again, and now the question deleted successfully. It is working fine. Okay, so we are done with the edit and delete functionality. Those are new for the question. And if you go back again, like how we have started, so you have to go back to the manage subjects, and in the manage subjects you have add, edit, delete, and manage chapters now. Then you can go to the manage chapters from the subject, and from the manage subject, from the manage chapters, then you have a manage quizzes button for each of the chapter, and when you click on the manage quizzes, so you will be on the manage quizzes for the physics or whatever quiz you have selected, and then you have the manage questions. So when you click on the manage questions, so you will be redirected to the manage questions for the specific quiz, and then you can whatever add, edit, delete here for the questions, for the quizzes, for the chapter. Every selection have all the functionality, right? But the main is started from the subjects now. So basically we have the subjects and the chapters inside or under the subjects, and then the quizzes under the chapters, and then the questions under the quizzes. So this is now a tree basically. So we have completed all the URL schemas, and with the enhancement we are done with the logic URL schemas, and edit and delete functionality for questions we are done with. Next we will do the search functionality for the subject, chapter, and quiz